From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025. 3 IDF soldiers were killed in Gaza yesterday. They are 21-year-old Staff Sergeant Shoham Menachem, 20-year-old Sergeant Shlomo Yakir Shrem, and 19-year-old Sergeant Yuli Faktor, killed when the tank they were in was hit by a blast in the northern Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sharing his condolences, writing, "The entire nation of Israel mourns the falling of the heroic Armored Corps fighters. Our heroic soldiers fought with endless determination for the defeat of the Hamas murderers and the return of our hostages. Their sacrifice for the security of Israel will be remembered for eternity." The 50 hostages who remain held captive by Hamas in Gaza have now been held for 648 days. The IDF continues its operations in Gaza, eliminating terrorists and terror infrastructure, including today, it said, a 3.5-kilometer, just over 2-mile-long underground tunnel route that included several tunnel hideouts in Khan Yunis, adding that during the operation, weapons and terrorist infrastructure storing explosives intended to harm our forces were also dismantled. The IDF also eliminated terrorists and destroyed an explosives site, rocket launchers, and underground routes in the Beit Hanun area in Gaza. And in Lebanon, the IDF said it hit military compounds used by terror group Hezbollah's Radwan force, including compounds used to train Hezbollah terrorists for attacks against Israeli civilians and soldiers. Noting that the Radwan force was behind Hezbollah's Conquer the Galilee plan. And the IDF hit military vehicles of the Syrian regime forces in southern Syria after the identification, it wrote, of Syrian regime convoys, including armored personnel carriers and tanks, moving toward what is a Druze majority part of Syria today. Netanyahu and Israel's defense minister Yisrael Katz released a joint statement today saying the entry of Syrian forces and weaponry in that area was in contravention of the agreed-upon demilitarization policy and that it endangers Israel, saying Israel is committed to preventing harm being inflicted on the Druze in Syria owing to the deep covenant of blood with our Druze citizens in Israel and their historical and familial link to the Druze in Syria. We are acting to prevent the Syrian regime from harming them and to ensure the demilitarization of the region adjacent to our border with Syria. Well, turning now to here in the U.S., where over 375 Jewish communal organizations signed onto a letter from the Anti-Defamation League to the National Education Association's Executive Committee, urging them to reject efforts to boycott the ADL's widely respected anti-hate resources and Holocaust education curricula in schools. As we reported to you, the NEA, which is the largest teachers union in the U.S., passed a non-binding measure at its annual assembly to not use ADL materials or participate in ADL programs, claiming that the ADL distorts people's understanding of anti-Semitism, making particular note of that in regards to Israel. The letter to the NEA executive reads in part, "The effort to exclude ADL's voice from educational spaces at a time of skyrocketing anti-Semitism speaks volumes about the climate within NEA that allowed this measure to pass and the lack of understanding, if not outright hostility, behind it." Also noting reports that Jewish teachers who spoke out against the resolution at the assembly were harassed and shouted down. CEO Jonathan Greenblatt wrote, "Excluding ADL's educational resources from schools is not just an attack on our organization, but on the entire Jewish community. We urge the executive committee to reverse this biased, fringe effort and reaffirm its commitment to supporting all Jewish students and educators." Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, July the 15th, At 7 o'clock, Shai Abramson, chief cantor of the IDF, returns to the Hampton Synagogue for a concert alongside Cantor Netanel Hershtik. At 8, Justin Pine speaks with Rabbi Ken Spiro in part 1 of their exploration of Jewish history. At 9, Tal Keinan is on L'chaim. At 10, it's Good Week Israel. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And coming up next, the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.